Hey guys, Zangetsu 134 here, bringing you another vlog. I was gonna bring you guys the Godzilla animated episode, but then something else dropped into my lap, and I figured, what the hell? Those are coming. I do apologize. I don't think I've told you that. I've actually been wanting to do, since there's the new Godzilla movie coming out.
Yeah.
I want to do like a vlog series about the animated series that was in '97.
That's the first you've mentioned it to me.
Yeah. I don't talk a lot about my plans at work because people are like, "You do vlogs?"
I mean, I don't tell people I have a YouTube channel because I work so much and with grad school, there's like no point in me.
Yeah.
Because my activity is so spotty.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Because like I do Kamen Rider vlogs, and I've tried to do them bi-weekly so I can do, because like the episodes are like 2-parters this season, and like there was like a solid month where I couldn't get anything out. But anyway, we saw something, and I figured I might as well do it while the iron's hot. We went to see Captain Marvel, obviously, aka the lead into Avengers Endgame. Also 90s movie, the movie, like
the Blockbuster. That's all you need to know. Blockbuster is in the movie.
Blockbuster,
Radio Shack,
Nirvana, peak Nirvana,
9 Inch Nails.
Peak Nirvana is in this movie.
Bush is in the background, like a band that everybody only remembers for like one album.
Oh man,
because everything else is just so bad in terms of quality.
So right up front, I'm gonna tell you, I barely know much about Captain Marvel. I know who Carol is, and I know she was originally Miss Marvel, is Captain Marvel now. I know that the original Captain Marvel, aka the Kree Captain Marvel, was so boring that they decided to kill him off via cancer. In fact, I think he gets radiation poisoning, and it's the same poison that goes through him and gives Carol Danvers her powers. Because in the original comics, he protects her from a blast, and the radiation somehow. Wow. Yeah, I got a text from my mom. Our internet's down at home. Like Armstrong cable's completely out.
It's typical weather for our state.
Yeah, you can't hear it right now, but it's rain and wind. Like we just got done with major snowfall because it's Pennsylvania.
I actually had to work today, and I've been sick all day, but I actually didn't notice it was raining. And mind you, they did the truck.
Yeah.
Like I had them do the truck because I was almost done with CVP, and I'm like, if I stop, I'm gonna miss something.
Yeah.
I was walking back to go to the bathroom, and I started hearing the pounding of the rain. I'm like, okay, it's actually raining outside.
Like, oh man, I couldn't believe it was raining until about 9:30 when I went to go.
It wasn't raining at 6 either, because I went to Mickey D's. So.
But anyway, but yeah, I know Carol for the most part. I know she's kind of had a hard time with the popularity with the comics, just because it's hard for like. With Marvel, a lot of their female characters that are important aren't owned by them currently, movie-wise. Like Mrs. Fantastic, or,
technically MJ isn't, but MJ's not even really in the MCU at this point. That's not even really officially.
Yeah, Storm and most of the like rogue, like female characters that are members of the X-Men, they can't use. I mean, the closest they had right before Carol was Black Widow and Jessica Jones.
And let's be honest, I think the chances of us getting Jessica Jones on the big screen are very, very slim to none. I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen at some point, but I really doubt they're going to go ahead with that at this point.
Not only that, like, Alias, and I refuse to call the comic Alias known as Jessica Jones. It's Alias. The only reason they can't call it that is because ABC had the rights to that name for a stupid spy show starring Jennifer Garner.
Hey, no, I actually, confession.
Actually, I liked Alias.
I actually own all the novels for that series. I just want to say that.
I actually liked Alias too, but it gets me mad that they have to call her show Jessica Jones because the comic was called Alias. But like they can't do her anyways because like there's no way you can do Purple Man for the modern Marvel movie.
And I mean, let's be honest
with what he does.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and I hate to use the term casuals because I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper at all. Yeah, I hate gatekeeping anything where there's music
I do too,
or bootlegs, but casuals aren't gonna go see a movie for somebody that we would consider like a C-level superhero or even a villain. I mean, they want to go see the A-level material, but like you said, Marvel doesn't exactly own the A-level because of business decisions in the past 25 years.
And as I said with Jessica, like the sort of stuff she deals with is not something that Marvel's in the interest of making, because like I was surprised they even made her show for Netflix, just because. And I know, but Daredevil was beating the crap out of people and other things. That's normal for Daredevil. The stuff that Jessica Jones goes through in her comic is not so something. Much. Yeah, like.
I was actually my first time watching Jessica Jones, and I'm ashamed to almost admit this. I didn't get through the first season, but that's mainly because I started watching it week of college finals for senior year. So I was really stressed, and I had so much going on, but. I remember starting it, and I was like, because I had a private room at that point, and I was just like, this is really dark compared to what I thought.
Which is why it's a shame it's no longer on Netflix. Is like that was one of the things I wanted Marvel to do. But anyway, we're
getting way off topic.
So I know stuff about her, but like I didn't know like a lot of stuff about her. Like most of my knowledge of Captain Marvel is the death of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And the fact that them and DC are constantly in a pissing match with each other about the name.
That actually was the first thing I remember hearing about Captain Marvel was growing up. My uncle had a lot of old comics that he kept at my grandmother's place that I used to read. Like he had Spider-Man. I've shown you those ones. A lot of Fantastic Four, but there were a couple Superman ones, but. There was also a comic in there, and I can't remember what it was. It might be like Marvel Tales or something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. How it's in that collection anyway. Shazam's in it.
Yeah.
And it says in it, Captain Marvel. And so when around like middle 2000s, and I heard there was another Captain Marvel, but it was a Marvel comic, and I'm just like which one is
I'm
which?
I'm not even gonna get.
Even then, I was like, is it Shazam or is it Captain Marvel? Like, which one is it?
Funny you mentioned that. I was actually watching a YouTube video, and they did an ad for the fact that they have like one of the old like 50s or 60s Shazam TV shows on their streaming service.
Is it called Captain Marvel?
It's called Shazam.
Oh, is it?
Which is weird because technically, I'm going by dates. DC's Captain Marvel came first, but originally he wasn't DC's Captain Marvel.
Yeah, he was owned by somebody else, and then they sued over it because it was similar to Superman, and then it leads into a whole slew of legal troubles we don't have time to explain.
And they went bankrupt, and then they took Shazam.
And then Marvel copyrighted anything. That was back when they were copyrighting anything and everything Marvel related.
Here's an interesting thing you say about that. DC and Marvel actually co-own the rights to the word superhero. Yeah. Like, literally the word superhero. That's why, if anything else has to separate it to superhero. Like that is how ridiculous copyright is in the comic book world. But so yeah, we saw this, and I will admit,
and mind you, I only had like 2 months prior knowledge of Captain Marvel because I hit a wiki article, and I mean. Actually, a couple wiki articles. I can't remember what the Marvel fandom wiki is called, but I read that.
I think it's just Marvel Wiki, but
it probably is. I mean, but there's a couple different ones. I know MCU has its own wiki.
But I will admit, I like this movie. I don't know if I think it was a great showing for the character Captain Marvel, but I thought it was a pretty fun movie, especially giving us like an origin story for Nick Fury as like the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm not saying that she was bad in it. I just think that Marvel didn't focus enough on her.
No, I can definitely agree. I mean, as someone who, as you know, I like strong female characters. It's one of my favorite things in literature. Probably to the point people accuse me of like fetishizing it at some point or another, but that's really not the case. But I totally agree with that sentiment. I mean, we knew, given how interconnected all the MCU stuff is, they were gonna have to tie this into Endgame because that's obviously been their main plot of how to fix everything.
Yeah.
There goes the lights. Hold on, let me throw my flashlight on. Here we go. Technical difficulties, folks. We don't have funding.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Yo, let me link my paper. Let me link my paper.
Actually, that kind of worked, but keep that on in case.
Yeah, just in case
it goes off again.
But
but
I got it.
Yeah, I don't have a.
We're
thing
not
for
professionals here.
Yeah, I'm using a Yu-Gi-Oh box of cards to hold my phone up. But
actually, we knew they were gonna tie this in, and we knew, because let's be honest, at this point we all know. We all had theories of what Endgame was gonna entail. I was calling the minute I heard Infinity War, because I knew someone that actually went to see it. I think the week it was released, they already knew all the spoilers because he's one of these people that got spoiled for Force Awakens, and ever since then he actually spoils the movie for himself. That way he doesn't have someone else do it. It's weird, but he actually told me who was gonna get killed off, but he only did it the night he went because it was for a college trip.
Yeah.
He told me, when I'm on the bus, I will text it to you. That way you don't tell anyone where it's going. And I'm like, okay, fair. So I knew what was happening. As soon as I heard who was involved with it, I was like, no, they're going to fix this with time travel or do a reset, something. Because there's no way and pardon the French, there's no way in hell they're going to let that happen.
I mean, I already said that, and I said the DC and Marvel are in a pissing match, so.
Yeah, I mean, but just there was no way in hell they were going to let characters like Spider-Man stay dead. There was no way. That was never going to happen.
Not only that, like, come on. Like, they invent this thing called the Infinity Gauntlet, that can, we'll just leave the lights off. The Infinity Gauntlet that can warp reality, and using that power was able to wipe half the universe out of existence. You tell me it can't undo that?
Not to mention, it's long known that Captain Marvel's one of her powers is time travel, depending on which.
I actually didn't know that.
Everything I've read, it varies. I mean, it's kind of like, I think it varies on the title, the era, and what the writer is, and what continuity. I mean, let's be honest, comic book continuity is fluid.
Yeah, and they actually reference a lot of her continuity, because, like, the scientists that, in the plot, okay, the basic plot is basically, we meet Carol as she's being trained by the Kree, and she's in the green outfit that I think
it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's also, if you've seen the meme where she's punching the old lady. It's that outfit. It's not it's not the colors they've been using for all the promotion and such.
But like, well, that technically is an outfit. I think that's like the Kree Imperial outfit, and technically
it's a uniform. I mean, they even mention it later in the film that it's a uniform.
And even Captain Marvel technically wore that outfit. And I think one of her the guys in her outfit actually resembles one of the Kree guards. But basically, she's tricked by her. And spoilers. I mean, why?
If you're watching a Captain Marvel video, why are you not expecting spoilers?
Yeah. Basically, she gets captured by the Skrulls, which I will admit they looked pretty good in this movie. I actually really liked how they designed the Skrulls. They look exactly like I out of the comic. There were some changes with them from the comic. I had to kind of adjust to. We'll get to that. But basically, they're trying to find an engine that would allow them to travel at light speed, which is basically something we've seen throughout the movies, which eventually leads into what exactly the engine is. But in fact, the engine actually is not they're looking for, but the core, which is actually the energy source, which if you've watched these movies long enough to know, you can probably figure out what it is. It's the Tesseract, which I will admit explains how Fury got his hands on the Tesseract.
And I mean, it does it in a way that's not totally outlandish or like that. It just kind of falls in his lap. I mean, they make it they show that it's kind of like a natural progression.
Yeah, which is
there's some thought and some meaning behind the fact that he has it.
It is kind of weird because I remember I can remember because at the end of First Avenger, Tony's father Anthony finds the Tesseract. I'm guessing he helped fund it because they also go into the origin of the Quinjet. Because that's one of the prototypes for her spaceship they were using. And basically, we find out that because I'm kind of going out of order because Carol spends like the first half of this movie with amnesia, due to the fact that the Kree have wiped her memory. Which I actually will give this movie credit. They actually play the Kree as just as evil as the Skrulls.
Yeah.
Because like the Kree do some pretty horrible stuff because the Kree great intelligence always tells them that they should do stuff without emotion.
And I mean, to kind of be fair, it's also very realistic in a sense that as someone who's a pseudo-military historian, the first thing you learn if you're ever getting really hardcore into history is when it comes to war, there is no good bad. Really, I mean, are there cases you can certainly argue it? Yes, but everything is really shades of gray.
Well, to be fair, the Kree and the Skrulls have always kind of been sort of representations of capitalism versus communism, because the Skrulls were originally created to be basically space Russians, like legitimately space Russians.
No, Marvel with political allegories.
Yeah, I know.
Who would have ever thought?
Which is why,
despite what everyone tries to
I know. I don't understand. Like,
come on.
Like, for Pete's sakes, Iron Man fought Titanium Man, the Russian equivalent of Iron Man, on a TV death match years before Rocky IV, where Rocky ends the Cold War.
Stan's soapbox. Enough said. Enough said.
Like, I mean, that's neither here nor there about politics, but basically Carol was a part of this military thing, which is kind of Green Lanternish in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some Green Lantern vibes, and I'm sure someone will draw comparisons. But I mean, to paraphrase Tom Petty on the subject of copying songs, there's only so many chords in rock and roll, and there's only so many ways you can put them together.
Well, then, to be fair, like, it's better than her getting her powers via radiation DNA transplants. Like, I mean, it was in the comic books.
I mean, let's be honest. They went with what's probably the most accessible origin.
Yeah. Basically, she was working with Mar-Vell, who was disguising herself as a human, which is how it was in the comics. Along with her friend Monica Rambeau, who, if you know your history, she was actually the second Captain Marvel. So after Captain Marvel died of cancer, the Kree chose her to be the new Captain Marvel. And later she got her, she would eventually step down from being Captain Marvel and give the title to a bunch of other people before Carol eventually becomes Captain Marvel. And she got the name Photon, which was her nickname in the military, which I thought was really cool. And I actually really liked, that they actually had Monica in there, even down to the fact that she's from Louisiana. I didn't know she had a daughter, though. I'm not entirely sure if that's right or not. I mostly know her from, her appearance in Secret Wars, because that was the Captain Marvel that was in that. Which is actually kind of funny because both her and Carol have both tried to date Rhodey, aka War Machine. In fact, I think Carol was dating War Machine for a while.
Well, and I mean, Carol also, if we're gonna go by comics, Carol also had a kind of a fling with Peter, but I mean...
Yeah, but that never really went anywhere.
Yeah.
They also at least thankfully didn't go into her being an alcoholic. Yeah, her
that might be a little heavy for the kiddos and the casuals.
Well, I mean, yeah, they really gloss over Tony's alcohol problem in the
which I mean is understandable. I mean, I think Marvel has always kind of played off as it's got the right blend of dark with lightheartedness and accessibility, kind of like compared to DC, which sometimes DC is dark for the sake of just being dark.
That's how it was now. I remember back in the 90s where they didn't do that. But that's neither here nor there.
DC can't get a good balance.
I mean, Aquaman was pretty good.
Well, I mean, if Aquaman's a step in the right direction, and they keep doing it, but I mean, we're getting off topic. We're not talking about DC.
Yeah. So basically, she tests this with Mar-Vell in space. And her commanding CO attacks them because they want the Kree want that to end their war with the Skrulls, which, to be honest, as we learn, they kind of already were. Like, apparently in this, the Skrulls don't have a home world. They also don't bring up the Skrull Queen in this, which is weird because like the Skrulls are basically like bees or ants, in that they only have a queen and like all the rest of them are male drones. Which, I mean, granted, and you're probably telling yourself, but the Skrulls have disguised themselves as women. Yeah. Like, in fact, in the Runaways, one of them is supposed to be a Skrull. Fun fact. And she's, that Skrull actually disguises herself as a woman, and is actually in a lesbian relationship with one of the other cast members.
Isn't there,
because
I can't remember what volume it is, but in Renew Your Vows, Peter makes the joke that Annie has been replaced by a Skrull.
Yeah. But like in the Runaways, it's really funny because like the girl's like because the Skrull's really into her, and she's like, no offense, I'm gay. Like I prefer women. And the Skrull's like, no problem, baby. Just turns himself into a woman. Which I love. That's probably one of the best parts of Runaways that I know. Which I don't think the Runaways TV show can do that on Hulu, because I don't know how that works.
I'm gonna be totally honest. When you say Runaways,
Yeah, I know.
I think of the band with Joan Jett. The
Yeah, I
Runaways.
know.
It's hard for me
I
not to
know.
just associate that as being a music buff.
Well, I mean, you know, she did perform with a rapper named Old Lace.
which kind of speaking of which, nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. So basically,
I mean, we both kind of lost it when they pan down and
Yeah.
there's Blockbuster. And it's
Yeah,
like, what?
so basically, the Skrull get a hold of Carol because they want to use her memories to find the Tesseract.
And that's in 1989.
Yeah, she was testing the engine in 1989, but she's been training on the homeworld of Hala of the Kree for 6 years.
And she's assumed dead.
Yeah, she's assumed dead because all they find is her dog tags from the crash site, because both the American government and the Kree covered it up. Big shocker there.
Government cover-ups? No.
Yeah.
As someone who's a history major, no.
Nah,
never happens. The government never lies.
I read Contra. So the Skrulls take her to Earth because that's where they find her. She gets out, which is a really good fight scene. A lot of people tell me the first 15 minutes of this had really terrible editing. I didn't think so. That fight scene was actually pretty good.
As someone who has experience with video editing and
I mean, it's certainly
such, I didn't see any issues with it, and I'm normally one of the first to point out if I see something is crappily edited.
Yeah, because
cough, Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's have a fight scene in the dark where we can barely see anything. I don't see any problem with that. So she crashes into a Blockbuster, which I spent most of that trying to see what movies were in
no,
back.
I thought I was the only one. The only one because I saw Hook in the back. I noticed that one.
It is so 90s because they play the music. They
Radio Shack's in it.
Yeah.
If you there's a scene where she hacks into a payphone and hooks it up to her communicator, and they pan out and you can see the wall, which has got poster upon poster on it. There's a poster for Bush, REM, Rock the Vote. I mean, it's 90s nostalgia.
She steals these clothes off a mannequin and had that NIN shirt.
Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, she's
the Game Boy. The Game Boy.
She rigs it with Game Boy Advance parts,
and you can even see the box. So you know that Nintendo got some money off
of this. What Ghostbusters crap is that?
The cars. I mean, I spent. You can ask him. I spent most of the movie. I'm a car guy. I'm flipping out about the cars.
The fact that the Stan Lee cameo, rest in peace. His last cameo, because I think they said that this it's actually Endgame, but this is his second to last one. This
one was so subtle,
and it was really subtle. It's him on the train studying his part for Mallrats, because he's in Mallrats by Kevin. I can't think of his name. The guy that did
Kevin Bacon?
No, not Kevin Bacon. The guy who did Clerks. Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin Smith.
Because him and Kevin are actually good friends, and he's in Mallrats, and he's studying the script for Mallrats.
And he just grins at Captain Carol, and Carol just kind of grins back and leaves.
That was actually a really. In fact, I think when the beginning of this movie, they actually show all of Stan's cameos.
Yes,
in that.
I was actually aware of that going in because someone told me.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Because what they did was the normal Marvel logo, as we all know for the films, has a splash of all these characters.
Bits of the scripts.
And they changed it for this one to have all of Stan's cameos.
Which
I even saw Spider-Man, Raimi's Spider-Man in there.
I think they did all of them. I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if his cameo in the Princess Diaries 2 is in there.
It's probably mixed in there somewhere.
Side note, Disney.
When it comes out on Blu-ray, someone's gonna freeze frame it every second and just give us a
Side note, Disney. Why is he in Princess Diaries 2?
Why not?
Why?
Why not?
But I love that. That train scene was actually really good. Where she fights the
beautifully shot, beautifully edited.
And it was really fun and frenetic. They come to a tunnel and the Skrull jumps over the tunnel, but Carol blasts a hole into the train and ducks. I have never seen that was the smartest thing I had ever seen when you come up to a train. There's a few times where we actually get to see Carol actually be smart.
Yeah.
And so basically she runs into Nick Fury, who is
obviously very young in his career with
Shield.
And
pre losing his eye. And basically, this is where he learns about the fact that there are aliens out there, and more or less, this is why he comes up with the Avengers Initiative.
Starfleet.
Starfleet.
He looks at her like he looks at her like she's got like two heads.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
The funniest thing ever.
Which is weird. I'm like, are you telling me you've never seen the original Star Trek or the Next Generation when you hear the word Starfleet?
What I love is there's Coulson in the background.
Yeah.
And there's a cop. And I'm like, bro, no offense.
Oh yeah.
You have like the most horrible array of people for this situation. And I mean, I know that's like, well, it's like obviously it's because they don't have the experience with it, or like he doesn't. But even still, I'm like, man, what is that cop gonna do?
Yeah, but we also like basically Carol eventually works with Fury, who doesn't know that he has been Shield HQ has been compromised again, only this time by the Skrull.
Big shock there. Shield doesn't have good security.
Which makes me wonder why in like Captain America 2 he's shocked that Hydra has been running things from behind the scenes since World War II.
Let's be honest, it's probably a plot hole.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like there's a lot.
Even the best written fanfics have plot holes the size of trucks.
I need to be fair, that's probably actually an homage because there's a lot of homages to the previous films.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where a spaceship crashes in the in the Mexican desert or like one of the deserts in like the Southwest.
I think it's Nevada.
Probably, but like
I think it said Air Force Base Nevada.
It's basically there's a crash and it's basically a reference to like Coulson taking Shield to Mjolnir's crash site in Mexico. There's a bunch of other ones we caught. But basically her and Fury work together and they go to where Project Pegasus was, the project that Marvel was working on.
Wait a minute, you can do that? But you said watch me play with tape
there's
for
this
5
great
minutes?
scene because like they go and we actually see the first Quinjet, a prototype of the Quinjets, and basically they get put into like a holding cell more or less.
And the best part is, and anyone who's over the age of like 20 or 18 has done this.
Yeah.
Because I have myself. But it's the trick where if you put your fingerprint on something and you get a piece of Scotch tape.
Yeah.
And you put it over it and you peel it off, the fingerprint's there.
Yeah, because
they use that to get in the door. And
then later he's unrolling his fingerprint tape.
And she just blasts a hole in the door.
And he's like,
you said watch me play with tape.
And she's like, I didn't want you to, lose. I didn't want to steal your thunder. And so they go into these archives, which is such an ancient archive system.
No, and as someone who is a recent college graduate of a college that is a government book depository. Yeah, that's actually how those look, and it's impossible to find anything. Like those little boxes. Your government archive is lucky if they have those, because half the time it's just the pamphlet sitting in there, no call sign on the side if it's small enough. So you're basically just, if something's put in the wrong place, you're shit out of luck to find it.
Yeah, he distracts them with microfilm, which I don't even, do we still use microfilm anymore?
Yes, microfilm is in some places I know it's used. My college actually had a microfilm reader that was brand new. That is it was recently replaced, but I don't think places actively use it now with the advent of the digital age. Which
is kind of a big problem because I don't know if you know a lot of stuff about like a lot of people worry because like the way our computers are advancing, like anything we store digitally, it's getting too old.
Why do you think I don't like digital copies of things?
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't myself. I like to keep. I mean, I don't mind digital copies of things if that's the only way I can get it. But
I mean, I still need to buy Marvel Spider-Man on PS4. Yeah. I need to get a hard copy.
But they also run into Goose, her pet cat, which is actually an alien. What were they calling it again? A Fleegor or something like that?
Yeah.
Fleegor.
I mean, Samuel has the most human reaction to this cat, and it's so perfect.
This is the cutest I've ever seen Nick Fury in anything.
Oh, such a good little goose is you. Dude, he's every man with a cat.
I also love how the cat's name is Goose, and Carol Danvers is an Air Force pilot. Like, I didn't know its name. I was like, why do you call it Goose? And I'm like, oh,
Top Gun
I feel so dumb.
Top Gun reference.
Because Carol's a big Top Gun fan, apparently. Well, technically it was Marvel's, but most of the time the cat is usually Carol's, but Fury holds on to it because she has to go into space at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And basically they go to Louisiana to meet Monica. And basically she finally gets it through her head that the Kree have been brainwashing her. like this whole movie, I will admit, nobody notices the big green thing on her neck that's like they use to basically keep her in check.
Yeah, it's basically like
from
like
it's
a neural
energy
pacifier.
It's a neural pacifier and like an energy limiter because like eventually she takes that off and it actually shows that they've actually been limiting her powers like this whole movie because like she doesn't fly until like the very end, but like basically like she is full of energy. They changed it a little bit, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, just how her origin. But basically, when she blew up this engine, the Tesseract's energies like flew into her, which also makes me think that's how she's gonna beat Thanos, is because she's technically herself one of the Infinity Stones, because that's what the Tesseract energy is.
Yeah.
And then I think basically to save her life, they inject her with Kree blood, which I don't know how that works because she's part human, but I guess because of the energy, like
the scriptwriters helped her out.
Yeah, well, I would assume the energy like bonded the Kree DNA to her body.
Someone out there will do a post about it on Tumblr.
No, I got it.
Someone will explain.
I got it. It's a Matrix thing. Some part of you imprinted onto me.
Don't bring the Matrix in. I know we're running on nostalgia. We're not bringing the Matrix into this.
One of my favorite YouTubers on Comic Pop, on during his back issue stuff, whenever they don't have an answer, that's their thing. They go to the Matrix. Some part of you imprinted onto me.
Wait a minute, Marvel. The beginning of Spider-Man. 1997.
No, don't bring Angry Video Game Nerd into this. It is 1995, not 1997.
1997.
Like, oh man, then
Hong Kong 97, which came out in 1995.
But basically, eventually, it turns that like the main Skrull, who's like I forget his name, General Talos or something like that.
He's actually played off as not being a bad guy.
Yeah, which was interesting. Like I said about the Skrulls, but basically he gives them the black box of the ship, which I don't know how he got.
The government said it was destroyed. Wow. Yeah. Again, you're surprised?
Like, I actually will admit.
Do I need to bring 9/11 conspiracies into this?
And then they play it on Monica's Windows 95, and it takes forever.
What's taking so long? It's loading. I'm like, oh, I've been there multiple times.
Yeah, and then Carol gets her memories back.
There's actually a computer at our place of work in the back by receiving. It's still running 95. It is obviously 95.
I know some of them are running on XP, which
if I see one in there with Vista, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I think there is one in there with Vista.
I'm gonna lose my mind if I find that one.
And so we get that, and we also get this. As much as I love Monica's daughter in this, because she's actually pretty cute, and I like how she plays off of Carol. Like, she accepts Carol's alive right away. And I kind of like it because like it sets up her and Monica and their like relationship, and like I like the family ties with the three of them.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cute. It actually confused me during like her memories, like when the Skrulls are sifting through their memories. All of a sudden she's talking to a little girl. I'm like, oh, is like they messing with her mind so much she thinks that Monica's a little girl there, and no, it's Monica's daughter. Which I will admit they play her pretty good in this. She's clearly a big fan of Carol, and like she wants to like build spaceships and stuff. But like she gets out all of like the stuff they kept at Carol's, and like she goes through all these pictures and explains basically all of
very very kid-like. We've all been there at some point.
She's so expositional on it. Like, this is your dad. You two didn't get along very well. It's written in a way that it's almost like she like is like, here, I'm going to give you the whole play-by-play of your origin story. Now, here's Captain Marvel Volume 1. All right. Like, she might as well have started pulling out pages of the comic.
Let's take this from the top one more time.
No, that would have been more subtle than this.
Let's go over this one more time.
How is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse a kid's cartoon? But then again, Lego Batman film pointed out all the stupidity of the Suicide Squad, so there you go. That was really one of my only big complaints with that. Is just that.
Even then, I mean, which is weird because I'm writing that off because I'm not normally a big kid fan. So
well, I'm not saying it was bad in that, like, it was more just
it's written
like,
very weird. It comes off weird.
It's written less that it's this real cutesy thing of like the kid reading it, and more, here's all this exposition for you, and here's all your backstory.
Yeah.
And so, while all this is going on, we find out that Carol's CO in the Kree is working with Ronan the Accuser. Like, okay, like,
it's hinted at in the very beginning. After the first Skrull is killed, Samuel turns the car right in front of a bus and just head on kills him.
Yeah.
And he's talking with obviously someone higher up, and the guy mentions do it alone because we're not sure who we can trust, even our own men, which is just foreshadowing. I mean, as you even pointed it out, foreshadowing everything.
Like, and then we see that he's working with Ronan the Accuser. Who wants to work with a guy whose name is the Accuser? And then, and so I knew right off it took me a little bit to realize why he's after them, and then I was like, oh yeah, right, he's one of the children of Thanos. He wants the Tesseract. Which I like the whole time I'm just like, why? And apparently I think the Kree Supreme Intelligence is in on it.
Apparently.
Which I don't know. There's a reason why I like in the comics.
I'm sure Endgame will explain a little. We're gonna obviously Carol in Endgame, because it even says at the very end of the movie, Captain Marvel will return in Avengers Endgame. It's like, okay, so she's gonna explain everything in the opening 20 minutes of the movie, because we know that's gonna happen, because everybody's gonna be like, well, where was she during all this other stuff? Yeah. Even though it's like, well, she was off doing something on the other side of the galaxy. It's not like she can just pop up.
We're getting to. And so basically they find out where the Tesseract's hidden. It's hidden in orbit because the Kree have cloaking technology. Their whole planet is actually cloaked.
It's in orbit?
Yeah.
Was that really that hard to figure out?
Yeah, I know.
You're my science guy.
Yeah, no, the Kree has like a science dude, and he can't figure out that the coordinates are for like our orbit.
Oh my god, the way he talks killed me.
Oh yeah, no, he's got like the nerd lisp.
Oh my god, I still heard that. I'm like, no, they didn't.
And then like the Quinjet can't go into space, so they modify it using Monica's airplane parts, because she has like a.
You're gonna pass this up and stay home with me watching Fresh Prince?
Oh my god, and the daughter tells her to go, but like.
He's sitting here waiting for Fresh Prince the theme to pop up out of nowhere.
Now this is the story all about how my life got flipped turned upside down.
I would only accept that if Gwen comes out of nowhere singing that.
Now I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you, sit right there, D. I'll tell you how I had to fight both the Skrulls and the Kree. In West Hollow, born and raised.
Let's not get it. We're not gonna make the whole song.
And so we find out that like the reason Marvel wanted to make the engine was because she had a bunch of Skrull refugees hidden up. And yeah, I know refugees politics.
You don't have to live like a refugee.
Yeah. She actually had been keeping them up there, which I don't know how the Skrulls have been living up there for 6 years without any sort of food.
Well, I mean, they have a Space Invaders pinball. They're okay.
But, yeah, it's so weird because this high-tech alien spaceship. What was that?
That was probably my phone. Just keep going.
Oh no, I have YouTube. Okay. And so like they've been living up there, and there's like troll dolls and a Happy Days lunchbox from 1989. Although I don't think he was still on in 1989.
I think probably the reruns were on.
Yeah, probably the reruns, because I want to say that
Laverne
was
and Shirley was still on. It was probably early 80s when it ended.
Side note,
because I mean Dukes of Hazzard ran until 82.
Yeah, true. Side note, Happy Days has a cartoon that was originally supposed to be a Doctor Who cartoon. Where I'll get into that when we're done reviewing.
Yeah, I never
when I take you home, but I'll tell you about that more. So we find out the Skrulls are here, and here's one of my really weird things here, because again,
is this the gender thing? Because you brought it up to me, and I was like, okay.
The Skrull commander meets his wife and daughter, which I'm like, wait, Skrulls aren't supposed, like, only the Queen is supposed to be. I know that's a weird, like, it was just kind of weird for me. I accept it. It's just, it was a weird.
It'll likely get explained in some, like, let's be honest, there's gonna be a novelization of this film, and if I do, I'll buy it and I'll read it just to see if it answers that, and if so, I'll tell you.
And for that matter, maybe that's just how they, like, I didn't.
It's the MCU.
It wasn't a bother me thing. I was just like, oh,
it was like,
we have female Skrulls. Okay,
yeah, this is different. So.
And so basically, they're trying to get the Tesseract, and the bad guy, like the Kree show up, and so like she tries to fight them off, but then
we missed an important part right before they go into space. Carol is talking with the daughter.
Oh yeah, this is how
she the color scheme is picked by Monica's daughter.
Yeah, and it's actually she's wearing this T-shirt that like is an Air Force T-shirt, and that's what
like
she based
with the old school. It's not even actually That's actually history nerd time. That's actually the Army Air Force logo, which before, for those who don't know, the American Army Air Force was the Air Force.
Okay.
When it was attached to the Army.
Because I actually didn't know that. Actually, thank you.
Up into the 1950s, I believe, time of the Korean War, the military branches were as follows: Army, Navy, Marines, and I think Coast Guard. The Army Air Force, the Air
which
Force,
one is Green Beret, or is that just
that's
like
Army? That's Army.
Okay, sorry. Didn't know
Green Beret is Army. That's a fifth Special Forces group. But anyway, the Air Force was actually a subdivision of the Army, kind of like the Marines were initially part of the Navy, but it kind of splintered off. The Army Air Force was. That's actually what that logo is on her shirt. That's the old school.
I actually didn't know that.
That's the old school World War II Army Air Force logo.
So thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a very classic design. It kind of gets warped to being an Air Force logo, which it is, but it's not really USAF. It's U.S. Army Air Force, which is another thing. That's just me nitpicking, though.
But, and so they scroll through scroll.
Is that a pun?
I didn't mean for it to be a pun. I just have saying scroll so much I meant to say, and like, was actually kind of neat because they actually give her a color scheme much like the actual Captain Marvel, where it's red, gold, and black.
It's the one right before the Tron looking scheme, isn't it?
And and then like she gives her like this really neon colory outfit, but then they choose, of course, her more modern,
one that's in all the promos.
Well, and it's her modern one. It's what Captain Marvel looks like now, because otherwise usually her suit is a one-piece bikini with a red sash around her waist when she was Miss Marvel.
Which isn't that the one in the other Captain Marvel? Isn't that the one that's mentioned?
It might have been.
Like the one I told you I found. Fun fact, I actually found that. I was in college waiting to go see my advisor, and somebody had left that in one of the lounges, so I just took it.
Well, it probably is, but like she also had an outfit even more skimpy and revealing than that.
No,
where it was
female comic book characters having skimpy outfits.
I know that.
I'm so shocked.
But like, it doesn't even look good, kind of skimpy, because she's got like a midriff and like part of the bottom, but like she's got like a belly hole.
Do you want me to introduce you to X-23's comic outfit?
Yes, I know X-23's outfit. But to be fair, hers at least she could get away with a teenager. Carol was an adult woman, but and so she tries to fight the Kree, but then they use her inhibitor chip to knock her out and try to force the Kree Supreme Intelligence to brainwash her, which leads her into talking with the Kree Supreme Intelligence while Come As You Are is playing inside the
it's so surreal. We're sitting there, I'm just like, are they actually playing Nirvana?
Yeah, no, I'm like, what? And then, Kirk comes on, Come As You Are.
Which is ironic because the song that plays over the credits is actually a song called Celebrity Skin by Hole, which that band's front woman is Courtney Love, who is Kurt Cobain's wife. So probably there was a deal worked out there, because I think she still owns a couple of publishing rights. I'm not sure, but I almost feel like that was part of the deal. Was okay, you get to use that, but you have to use one of mine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But it's still a '90s song, so I mean, it's the.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair,
REM is in there.
Look, let's be honest. You can't do a '90s movie without at least one cover song by Nirvana. You just can't. It's actually written in the code that's actually a war crime in the Treaty of Geneva.
I feel like if my thing was when I saw there was two things I was kind of disappointed at music wise, and I'm sure it'll probably be on the soundtrack, or if they do like music from
I know one of the ones you're gonna say.
It's gonna be like Nine Inch Nails. Hand It Feeds. I was waiting for some Nine Inch Nails to pop up because she actually wears a Nine Inch Nails shirt.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Like, she has a Nine Inch Nails and they didn't.
And then the other one would probably be like Bush, like because there's a Bush poster in the background.
I thought you were.
I was gonna say like Glycerine would work with this. But no, I know exactly what you want me to say. Where's my Limp Bizkit being in this if it's the 90s? I didn't hear that intro riff to break
I didn't
stuff.
love when she walked in the bar, you pointed out that they were playing NASCAR and you're trying to figure out which
Fun fact, it's not NASCAR, it's a late model division. Okay. I saw racing and I'm like, is that NASCAR?
I was curious because I figured you might have been able to figure out what race that was, but
no, it's a late model division. It's nothing I've ever seen. I don't even think it's a NASCAR sanctioned one. It's probably some stereotypical stock footage.
Probably.
Let's be honest. There's no way NASCAR gave them some rights.
It looked really old. I think it looked older than what they were intending to use. But basically, Carol realizes that she's not like it's not the Kree that makes her Captain Marvel. It's Carol Danvers, and she basically
has a Spider-Man moment. I always get back up.
I actually did like that, where they constantly kept showing how she falls without the Kree in her, and then she rips the inhibitor chip out, and that actually gives her her full powers, and then she defeats the bad guys. Unfortunately, Ronan the Accuser shows up
with nuclear warheads, and he's like, "Oh, just blow the planet up."
Which I'm like, but the Tesseract's down there. If you lose that, Thanos will kill you. Like,
yeah, that might be a plot hole. I'm sure someone will explain.
Because like those aren't just nuclear warheads. I'm pretty sure those would blow up the planet.
Yeah, and she just turns this whole nuclear warhead back on it, blows everything up, and then goes in and takes on a whole fleet of starfighters by herself.
And then Ronan's like, I'm leaving.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm done.
But I love it because
she comes up right in front of the view screen. She's just like...
And then she knocks her knuckles together, and it makes this big energy blast. He's like, we'll be back.
We'll be back.
For the Corsair? No, for the weapon. And he means Carol. And I'm like, you couldn't even handle a freaking talking raccoon.
How are you gonna handle Captain Marvel at her full potential?
Like, you couldn't even handle a bunch of ragtag space misfits and Gamora.
This is the professional group that ruins all of my plans. I am deeply ashamed.
And like, no offense to the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're cool. I'm just saying.
Points if anyone recognizes that reference, even though I misquoted it at some point in that. I know I did, but points if you recognize that quote.
Like, and so it ends there. Carol decides to take the Kree into space. She leaves the beeper that Nick uses to call her at the end of Infinity War.
Which happens right after a humorous scene where Samuel L. Jackson sings Please Mr. Postman by the Marvelettes.
And I'm going to leave out how he loses the eye, because it's in this, but I'm not going to tell you why.
It's funny, and also, the one swear word is attached to it.
He gets to use the F-bomb
He gets to use this finally. It's awesome.
We finally get our Samuel L. Jackson F.
You see what you did? You got too excited over Samuel saying the F-word.
Yeah. We finally got it.
Motherfucker.
We finally got it. And so...
You know he was like, man, it's got to happen now. It got to happen.
And then after the credits roll, we get the scene where... basically, we finally fast forward to the end of Infinity War, where Cap, Natasha, and Bruce find Nick's beeper somehow.
And they have it hooked up to an external source, because I'm like, man, how is that thing still functioning at this point?
Well,
it's a beeper. I mean, it's obviously got... It's obviously augmented
It's
with
augmented with Kree tech.
But even still, the core components of the beeper would have gave out like a decade ago.
Yeah, but it's Kree tech. And so basically, like, it stops going off, but like Natasha, because it was Fury's, tells them to start. You have to start it again. And then as she turns around, Carol was there.
Where's Fury?
Yeah, where's Fury? And that's
it just
where,
bam end.
Because so
and then the final credit scene is it's just a shot of Nick's desk and Goose pops up and he starts like coughing, like he's gonna cough up a hairball, and he coughs up the Tesseract. Yeah, that's the end, and that's literally all there is to it.
So in summary, I think this movie was pretty good. Like I said, to be honest, I feel like it's more Fury's movie than Carol's.
No, I can totally agree. And honestly, I think it's less so of a Carol solo movie and more so of a, okay, let's get this set up for Endgame so the stuff we're going to introduce makes sense.
That's always been my biggest problem with Marvel, is that a lot, like, as much as I love a lot of the movies, a lot of them feel like set up for the bigger movies.
Which is annoying, because, I mean, I like Captain Marvel as a character, and this obviously... This was really hyped up as being like her chance to shine. I mean, she does. It's a great film. Don't get me wrong. I love it.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best films I've seen in a while, and I don't hand that out lightly.
But, yeah, I thought it was very entertaining.
Certainly, it always feels like you know what the end result's going to be. It's going to lead directly into Endgame. I even told him going into this, it's going to lead directly into Endgame. That's going to be the credit scene. You know it is. So I feel like it was marketed as being a Captain Marvel solo film, which it is, but it's a Captain Marvel solo film featuring Nick Fury and with a cameo by the Avengers,
which is good. Don't
get me wrong. They play off. Brie and Samuel play off each other excellently.
Yeah. Oh no, she's very good in this, and I actually really liked her because like she can play both being very serious and she has a bit of a comic edge to her that makes her kind of it works for her.
And contrary to all the neckbeards, the social justice warriors did not ruin the film, so you can stop ruining the Rotten Tomato rating.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up, but...
No, it has to be done, because anyone that actually goes and sees this film with a shred of doubt that it's going to suck, you will get blown out the door by how good it is.
But, like, if you went into this expecting it to be like Black Panther, where it's actually, like, her movie... It's not like that. That's my only complaint with this movie.
It's slightly disappointing. It is. It's still good, though.
I mean, if this does well enough, we'll get Captain Marvel 2 when she can have her own movie there.
Yeah, I know it was reported somewhere, and I don't know how credible the source is because I didn't do digging.
Yeah.
Marvel, after Endgame, they're going to slow a bit, which... I'm just gonna take it as they're not gonna do a movie every year.
I also don't think I don't think we're gonna be having as big of like a connected universe as
no,
especially because both Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, I think, kind of want Endgame to be their last movie,
which is weird because it's actually been reported Chris is still up for being Cap. So
I think
he just doesn't want to do it every year.
Every year. I don't think he wants to do more Cap solo movies. I think he just if they need him for Avengers, he will show up.
Yeah.
But like, and especially because Infinity War kind of set the table so that only the original Avengers characters are in it, with a couple of exceptions, because they want to be this team of Avengers last movie.
Yeah.
But like
the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah. But like that's really my honestly biggest complaint with this movie is it doesn't feel like it's really her movie. Which I've taken a lot of issues with that. That's one of my bigger problems with Thor: The Dark World.
It's my issue with Spider-Man. I'm sorry, Homecoming and I Fear Far Away From Home.
I don't
less so, but I felt like okay, this feels like this is like too reliant. But I mean that's another debate.
I don't know. I liked Homecoming. You don't, or I don't think.
It's not that I don't like Homecoming.
I realize. I retract that a little bit. I didn't mean that you didn't like it, but I know it's not. And I like
the Raimi films. That's all I'm going to say. I like the Raimi films.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, Sony has actually proven that they can do a good Spider-Man film, as you and I both reviewed. Link in the description. But anyway, we went on a little bit longer than we intended. But closing arguments, I do like this film. But if you're expecting it to be like one of the higher tier movies, it's not nearly, in my opinion, as good as an origin as, say, Captain America: The First Avenger, the first Iron Man film, Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, Ant-Man and the Wasp like barely ties into Infinity War. I think it was a slightly better movie for me, but
this film was a victim of they have to set up Endgame, otherwise.
It really was.
Which, I mean, kudos to them. It doesn't really come into play all that much until the end.
Yeah.
And it comes in a way that's very natural. It doesn't feel like, okay, we're at the end of the movie, but here we gotta give you a bone for the next one, so you'll come see it and understand it.
It's certainly not Iron Man 1 where like the whole movie we have Coulson, then all of a sudden Fury shows up at the end. Or like, say, the ending of Ant-Man and the Wasp, where it's just like, oh, by the way, Infinity War.
Trailer for Far Away From Home. It's so nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man.
Well,
that one's debatable.
And to be fair, I think they kind of I've heard talk that Far Away From Home is supposed to be after Infinity War.
We won't know until it comes out.
But anyway, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us. I will recommend, if you want to see this movie, I really do recommend go see it. If you like Nick Fury, I think you'll like this movie. And I think Brie Larson does a really good job setting up who Captain Marvel is, who Carol Danvers is. I just don't think she got a good enough shot to really sell this movie, because I think Marvel was too afraid she wouldn't sell this.
Which, I definitely agree with you. I think Brie played the role fantastic, much better than I actually expected.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I managed my expectations pretty well. I think she embodies Captain Marvel very, very well. She comes off in a way that's not forced. It's very natural. She plays off all the other characters and actors and actresses very, very well. But as you pointed out, I feel like the issue really is that this is less of a Captain Marvel solo film and more of a lead-in prequel to Endgame, which is a shame, but at the same time, it's not a bad movie whatsoever. It's a great film. But I would like to see in the future there be like a Captain Marvel 2 where it's less so setting up things for the next big Marvel movie and more so a film focused on Carol Danvers.
Yeah, the character. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this vlog. I'm Zangetsu134.
This is Vault Reviews here.
And we'll catch you next time. Until then, take care.